Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to talk about the highest falls in history. Let's begin. I apologize if I butcher this, but Vesna Volvich, January of 1950. She was a Siberian flight attendant who survived the highest fall without a parachute, 6.31 miles. She was the sole survivor after an explosion tore through the baggage compartment of Flight 367, causing it to crash near part of the Czech Republic. Air safety investigators attributed the explosion to a briefcase bomb. The authorities suspected that the Croatian nationalists were to blame, but no one was ever arrested. Following the bombing, she spent days in a coma and was hospitalized for several months. She suffered a fractured skull, 3 broken vertebrae, broken legs, broken ribs, and a fractured pelvis. These injuries resulted in her being temporarily paralyzed from the waist down. She made an almost complete recovery and continued to walk. Next up is Ivan Shivets. Lieutenant Colonel Shivets was a navigator on a Soviet Air Force bomber. In January 1942, fighters attacked his bomber, forcing him to bail out. He said that he leapt from the plane at an altitude of approximately 23,000 feet, with the air battle still raging around him. He initially did not open his parachute since he feared that he would be an easy target to angry German pilots. He planned to drop below the level of the battle and open his chute when he was out of sight of the fighters. Due to the thin atmosphere at that altitude, however, he lost consciousness and he was unable to pull the ripcord. He struck the edge of a snowy ravine at an estimated speed of somewhere between 120 and 150 miles per hour, and then slid, rolled, and plowed his way to the bottom. The aerial battle had been by Commander General Pavel Aksovich. When he was seen falling to the ground, cavalrymen rushed to the scene and were surprised to see he was still alive, still wearing his unopened parachute. He regained consciousness after a short time later. He suffered several injuries, including spinal injuries and a broken pelvis. He was operated upon with surgeons, and he made a recovery. Alan McGee was another unfortunate soul. Immediately after the Pearl Harbor attack, McGee joined the U.S. Air Force and was assigned to a gunner in a B-17 bomber, renderedly useless. On January 3rd of 1943, McGee left his turret when it became inoperative after being damaged by a German flank and discovered his parachute had been torn and rendered useless. Another flak hit them and blew off a section of the right wing, causing the aircraft to enter a deadly spin. McGee, in the process of moving from the bomb bay to the radio room, blacked out from a lack of oxygen because of the high altitude and was thrown clear from the aircraft. He flew over 4 miles before crashing through a glass roof of the St. Nasara railroad station. The glass roof shattered, making the force of the impact lighter. Rescuers found him on the floor of the station. He was taken as a prisoner of war and given medical treatments by his captors. He had 28 shrapnel wounds in addition to his injuries from the fall. He had several broken bones, severe damage to his nose, eye, lung, and kidney damage, and a nearly severed right arm. He was liberated in May 1945 and received an Air Medal and a Purple Heart. Nicholas Alchemade. On March 24th of 1944, a 21-year-old, he was one of the 7 crew members in Avar Lancaster BMK-2. It was attacked by German Junkers, Ju-88 Night Fighter, and caught fire and began a spiral out of control. Because his parachute had caught fire and was not useful, he jumped out of the airplane, rather to die with the impact of the ground rather than dying from a fire. Don't we all do that? He fell 18,000 feet to the ground. His fall was broken by pine trees and a soft snow cover on the ground. He was able to move his arms and legs and suffered only a sprained leg. Larissa, sole survivor of Aeroflight 8111, who was in an aircraft fragment after the mid-air collision which landed in a swampy glade. She fell 1,000 feet. She was conscious during the fall, which lasted 8 minutes. She survived partially because the 4x3 meter aircraft fragment started to glide on a soft, swampy glade. She landed also pushed against the seat with her hands and feet, perhaps hoping to absorb the blow, in her words. The impact was grounded, however, knocked by her broken unconscious body. She sustained a concussion and also a broken arm, a rib, and some spinal injuries. Christine McKinney was another person who fell from the air. South African skydiver who hit power lines and fractured pelvic bones. She fell from 11,000 feet, surviving when her main parachute failed to open and her reserve parachute nearly snapped during a jump. Bear Grylls, a very popular person due to Man vs. Wild. Bear had a free fall parachuting accident in Africa. He broke his back in 3 places and spent 3 months in rehabilitation. He spent several months in rehabilitation. He fell 16,000 feet. He was almost paralyzed. He said, "It was a routine parachute jump in Africa. It's getting dark and I'm free falling past 4,000 feet. Time to pull. I look up to check the canopy is open, but something was very wrong. I'm struggling to control it. I'm still falling. Way too fast. I'm too low now to use the reserve. I brace for the impact. My world goes black." Bear says that when he woke up, he could not move. He was then rescued, of course. Julian Kopachek, sole survivor of the LANSA Flight 508 plane crash, landed in a seat and only survived broken collarbone. Hiked for 11 days through the rainforest to safety. The plane was struck by lightning mid-flight and began to disintegrate before plummeting to the ground. She fell 10,000 feet. Apparently, she fell in the rainforest trees that lessened the impact. James Boyle, British skydiver who landed in snow in Russia after falling 6,000 feet. He broke his back and rib, but was walking within a week. So what do you think of these falling from air situations? I've heard other scenarios where the top of an airplane ripped off or the bottom of the airplane ripped off and then passengers saw the bottom of the ocean. But I mean, it's quite scary to say the least. I wouldn't want to be part of that situation. If I fell from an airplane, I'd either want a parachute or I just want to be left unconscious until I've hit the ground. But let me know your thoughts. Would you rather fall from 20,000 feet or 1,000 feet? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.